All right, am I live? Good morning, everyone. It's morning here. I am in Kauai. Hi, everyone. It's Kate Byers. Trying to broadcast here. I wanted you guys to see the beautiful background of Kauai. Is this amazing? My family and I just arrived yesterday. We are here for a week. Well, let's see. No, we're here in a week. So what we're going to talk about today is why as achieving women, we often succeed at work, but we're not succeeding in life, right? And I don't know if any of you, I know that's kind of hard to admit. If you want to put a 1 in the chat box in the comments and say, yeah, sometimes I feel that way. I feel like I can figure it out at work. I can kick ass and take names in the office, but when I come home, I don't feel quite as successful. Okay. And this happened to me for a long time in my career, and I want to share why and what's kind of going on. So, again, my name is Kate Byers. I'm the founder of Corporate Women Unleashed. We work with executive women, high-achieving women, women in leadership positions, and we show you exactly how you can start prioritizing your personal life and avoid burnout and lean into your job. You should be able to enjoy your career. It's audacious. You're making a mark in the world. You're making a difference, and that's important, but you don't have to sacrifice your happiness in the meantime. So here's kind of what's going on a lot of times. And there's 2 shifts I want to talk about today when it comes to feeling like you're doing great at work, but you're not doing so great at home. The first is and we've talked a lot about in the past, sort of this culture that we've grown up in where, yeah, and by the way, forgive me, I am all natural this morning because it's like 7:30 in the morning here in Kauai. So I'm just waking up and having my coffee. But one of the things that's really important for us to understand is that we've grown up in a culture where everything that has been spoken to you since childhood is how are you going to go out and get a job and really make money, be a success, right? And you're really good at it. So if you're someone that has DNA of a high achiever, overachiever, type A, you name it, it feels really good to excel, And most of the women we work with, it's not about making money. It's not about being rich. But it's about the freedom or the security, certainly, that lifestyle gives you. But it's really about excelling. Most of the women we work with, they will tell you, they'll say, I never set out in my career to become whatever, a title, right? I just kept doing great work. It's the work that feels good. Now, this is also counter to why home life doesn't feel so great, right? Because when work feels good, it feels good to be part of that meeting. It feels good to be in the room with the team, rolling up your sleeves, problem solving. It feels good to solve problems. And then you go home and it's sort of like, it's the same old, right? It's like, what's for dinner? Who's going to put the kids in bed if you have kids? How's the laundry going to get done? I mean, that stuff's just not as exciting, right? And there's no tangible reward. Like nobody ever says, hey, good job. Those underpants are so clean. You did an amazing job at that. So it's just not as rewarding. And my husband used to say, gosh, I never know what I'm going to get. Am I going to get corporate Kate tonight or am I going to get, Kate, my wife? So, and that's tough. It's tough for our families when they get the corporate version of us instead of the softer, fun, sweeter version. So there's 2 things that you have to really think about as a high achieving woman. The first one is that you are driven to excel. You're driven to excellence. It is part of your DNA. It feels good to problem solve. It feels good to find a gap and fill it. It feels good to find those holes and plug them. Also all this feels good. So one of the things that's really important is to understand that life has to feel good. And you have to really start restructuring your view of what success looks like. Is success defined as, your paycheck, your title, how many accolades you're getting, how often you're asked to, speak or go on the business trip or take on, or is success defined as you in control of your life? You making choices and calling the shots in your life? Is success defined as you as a woman who, what? What would that look like for you? Is it you as a woman who has an incredible marriage? Not a good marriage, not a solid marriage, not a reliable marriage, an incredible marriage. A marriage that makes your heart melt. A marriage that you walk in the door and you're like, babe, I am home. How was your day? Hey, do you want to sit down and have a glass of wine? Let's talk about whatever, this book you're reading, something that happened on your commute, an amazing thing that happened in the news, something that's intellectual, stimulating, intriguing, right? Or is it just like, no, I have a marriage. He's a good guy. He loves me. He's great. We're good. We've been through a lot together. Ugh, right? How do you want to define success in your marriage? How do you want to define success if you're a mom or, a sister or a daughter, whatever it is, in those ways? Do you want to be the mom? One of the things that was really important to me, because I found myself headed in this direction, especially when I was raising my daughter as a single mom, is I was the yelling mom, right? The mom who's super cool until you push my buttons and then I lost it, right? And then it was, you better do what I say. And I used my voice. I used my corporate Kate. I used, my smarts and all these things to sort of lord over my daughter and get her to bend to my will, which it's not a very comfortable thing to admit, but I did because it was easy. That's not who I want to be as a mother now. So when I think about parenting to my children now, it's how do I be peaceful? How do I encourage them to be empathetic? How do I help them learn from their mistakes? How do I celebrate their failure? How do I show up with willpower each day to really serve them as the mom I want to be, while also asking them to be, the children that they need to be as a part of this family. So defining motherhood in a way that excites you versus okay, how are we going to get dinner on the table and get laundry done and homework? I'm sorry, there's no achiever who really wants to go home and that just does not sound fun. So make it fun, but you've got to define that for yourself. How do you want to define yourself in your health, right? Do you really want to be someone who's carrying around the extra 10, 15 pounds? I mean, I did that for years. For years, I rode that roller coaster of weight gain, loss, weight gain, loss, weight gain, loss. Beating myself up for, well, only Kate, if you would just get up an hour earlier, if only you'd go to the gym. I just beat myself up over that. And when you finally start defining yourself as wait a minute, I'm not just corporate Kate. I am Kate who's in control of her life. I am Kate who's building an audacious version of herself. I am Kate who's going to be, whatever it is, fill in the blanks, has an incredible love story and is an incredible partner, is an incredible friend, looks and feels great mentally, emotionally, physically. That's who I want to be. Now as a high achiever, you get a little bit more excited. Okay. Now going home is a little bit more exciting because now you can start creating results in other areas of your life. Does that make sense? Okay. So that is the first shift you have to make, is you have to move from this very myopic view, this two-dimensional view, which is once I'm successful over here in this area, my job, then I can go do this other stuff. And the other stuff just never has any definition to it. So if it doesn't have definition to it, it's not going to be exciting for you. So change the game a little bit, play the game a little bit in your personal life. How can you be, whatever, if you've got little kids, the fun mom who does all the voices at bedtime, right? How cool is that? That could be your one home run every night. You get to do the books with the voices. I used to do that with I still do it with my kids. What am I doing? They're 10 and 8. And I'm the one who reads to them every night because I always do the voices for the stories. So you got to make it fun, and you got to make that accomplishment, that sense of accomplishment that we naturally get a high from, that's got to extend into your personal life, right? At the same time, it can't be so nuts that that's all you're doing. You can't extend the accomplishment into, well, if I don't read my children, War and Peace, then I'm not a good mother or whatever. You can, if I don't serve kale smoothies, then I'm a bad mother or whatever. We can't get into that sort of thing because then you're going to drive yourself nuts. My point is, make it fun to be at home, not just I'm sitting, I'm just running around yelling at my kids or yelling at my husband or just too tired because it's just not really inspiring to be home. Be inspired to be home. Be inspired to have your personal life. But in order to do that, you've got to create an identity that makes that inspiring. The second thing as high achieving women that you really have to make that shift is recognizing that a lot of the stories that we have as high achievers are, I don't want to say false, they're real, but they're not objective. So for example, I'll have women tell me all the time, well, Kate, I'm getting older. Who's going to want me if I don't figure out my career now? And I'm like, really? If there's one thing an achiever knows how to do is make money. I have no doubt every achiever I work with, they know how to make money and they know how to succeed in business. I don't care how old you are. But that's an example of a story that we carry with us, a script that we call it, that we have this belief, this fear of oh my God, I got to do everything I can for my employer because if I ever lose my job, wow, I'm old. I'm 48. Heavens to Betsy, right? Who's going to hire me? And it's are you kidding me? I have no doubt that any 48, 50, 60-year-old high-achieving woman can make money. You can have an audacious career. It's the only thing you've ever done. It's the other stuff we got to work on, right? So we have these stories, and this is what really drove me to come home as corporate Kate a lot, which was corporate Kate was really comfortable in that environment. I knew what I was doing, but there's a lot of fear behind that, which is I'm going to lose my place at the table. And that fear comes from, as we've talked about a lot, two places. Either A, I'm not really capable. They're going to find out, imposter syndrome, right? They're going to find out one day, I really don't know what I'm doing. And if these people find out, whoever these people are, and I lose this job, I can never, ever recreate this for the rest of my life. Okay? That's just false. That's just not objective. It's not true. You have evidence. You have plenty of evidence that you know what to do. The second value is a value equation, which comes from a place is that I don't know if I really deserve all this. And you see this a lot with, we're really with anyone, since we're obviously talking about high achieving women, but you see this a lot with high achieving women who do achieve great wealth. There's a lot of guilt for that, which is like, oh, I don't really deserve this. And so it's so tragic because on the one hand, like all of us in our society, our first world achieving society is trying to get to a place of wealth. Oh, I have a little mourning dove that just decided to join me. Sorry. Oh, it's like cooing at me. Sorry for the distraction, but it's so sweet. And so here we are, we look at the People magazine, we look at all the rich people on the cover, the celebrities and stuff, and we're like, oh, how can we get to be a point where we're comfortable and have wealth or enough to feel like we're comfortable? And then we get it and then we feel bad for it. It's just like we're not happy either way. So this comes from this sense of like, I'm not really valuable. And so if you don't feel valuable, then what happens is the only place that you can really feel valuable is at work because you're trying to constantly fill that gap. Constantly fill that hole of I'm not really valuable, I don't really deserve this. If I don't really deserve this, I have to keep it up because if they find out I'm not really valuable, I'm going to lose all this, right? So you got to cure the fear, right? So living in fear means you're going to come home and or not come home and always sacrifice that personal life because the fear is just driving you at work. Oh my! So just think of the stories. And for those of you listening, either now or when it's recorded, what are some of the stories you have in your head? What are some of the beliefs? Put them down there. And let's start busting some of those myths as a community, right? If I don't do this now, I'll never have enough money to retire. If I don't work this hard now, my kids will never go to college. If I don't do this now, they may find out that I'm not really worth this much money. Another company would never pay me this much. In my industry, I'm overpaid, highly paid. No one would ever pay me this again in my industry. Just write some of that stuff down. Put it in the comments, right? And so let's start busting some of those myths because they're myths. And you're like, oh, but Kate, everybody believes this. Well, maybe everybody does in your world, but not in the world we operate in. the women that work with me and the world that I operate in, we're capable of just about anything, right? And so when you really believe that at your heart, and you can own that identity that you are capable and deserving of anything in life. One of my favorite, famous, people that I love to send women to sort of look at is Sarah Blakely. Because whenever she's asked, like, do you ever wonder, like, why you? Why did this happen to you? Like, why are you the billionaire? She's like, why not? That's exactly what it should be. Why not? But it doesn't mean that in order to get to be that billionaire, you have to sacrifice your life. Sarah Blakely hasn't sacrificed her life. She's married, she has kids, she has fun, she's funny, she's down to earth. I mean, all these things are available to any of us. She's not a special unicorn. She's not. But we don't believe that because of some of the things that we've been taught and some of the habits and beliefs that we've adopted since childhood. So until you heal that emotional trigger, you always fall back into habit of being corporate, like what my husband calls me, corporate Kate. So once that's healed, then you just become like, oh, okay, what are some of the possibilities? Hey, you know what? Now I'm going to go home early tonight because I'm going to go play tennis with my husband. And, I'll catch up on work later. And it's not a big deal. It's not like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm leaving the office. What do these people think of me? If I do this too often, they're going to fire me. If they fire me, I'll never get this job again. So the two shifts are really critical. One is adopting an identity that excites you in your home life. Who do you want to be as a woman? Who do you want to be in your health? Who do you want to be in your marriage or your relationships? Who do you want to be in your community? When that's exciting, but not a compulsion, now it becomes more fun to go home. Because now instead of going home and just doing, oh my God, the 10th millionth time of Legos on the floor, you pack your kids up and you go out to dinner and do something crazy. You go have a pillow fight. You do the funny voices when you're telling the story, like I told you. And then the second thing is you understand that a lot of these myths are myths. A lot of these things in our head are just beliefs. And other people around you can believe it all day long. Everybody else at work can believe it. Good for them. You don't have to. You can operate differently. And when you do, we have women we work with that are actually changing the faces of their work environments because of how they are now operating, right? They are now operating from a place of fearlessness, of balance, of operating from a place of optimal well-being. And guess what? Everyone around them is starting to do that. Their bosses are starting to pick up on their language. Their leadership teams, their clients are starting to pick up on that. And it's such a beautiful thing. Let everybody else around you think what they think. When you change how you think, I promise you the world around you starts to react differently to you. And it's super amazing. Oh my gosh, this coat. Now I have 2 doves. I have to show you guys this. I'm sorry, it's just magic. See, these are the little moments in life that you just have to hold on to because they're special. So I'm going to interrupt our broadcast to show you. Are they there? Oh, there they are. Look, there was 2 of them a minute ago. Well, we're gluten-free, so if they're waiting for breadcrumbs, good luck, man. We're keto. I can give you some MCT oil and a steak. Anyways, poor doves. They're going to starve on our patio. Guys, so it's been really fun to broadcast from you today. Again, I'm here in Kauai with my family. We're having getting ready to start a magical few days, having fun before I go off to a really magical conference, which I'll tell you more about on Friday's live broadcast. But I wanted to let you know that for all of you who are out there thinking, wow, you know what? Somehow I've got to dial this in. I am not feeling like I'm a success anywhere in my life. But certainly it seems to be easier at work and not at home. It doesn't have to be that way, okay? Every single woman can have the most incredible career. You can make an impact in the office. You can have the lifestyle and all of the fulfillment that your career offers you and not have to sacrifice happiness. And if you are a high-achieving woman that is ready, you know, to start living your best life and stop sacrificing your happiness for your career without having to damage your career 1 ounce, then I encourage you to book a call with us. Let us talk with you. Let's figure out what's going on. Let us help you get to the bottom of what could be happening for you and just help you figure out that game plan. And if working with us is an option, great, we'll tell you. If not, we'll get you some other resources, right? It's that simple. So guys, thanks for showing up on today's broadcast. Again, I am going to go put my makeup on and get ready for my day. It's early here in Kauai, so I appreciate you coming to my unplugged version of today's live broadcast. And I will see you all really soon.